You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Today we have the latest on a truck collision that happened last night on I-44.
Now that we're approaching sunrise, we'll have a nice little warm up for the 4 states. Above average temperatures this week with the latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
And the dramatic footage of police officers saving a pilot from a train crash. You won't want to miss this. All that and more coming up.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Thanks for joining us for the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. I'm Tanya Bach. The Missouri Highway Patrol releases more details concerning a crash that happened last night on I-44. The Missouri Highway Patrol says the crash involved 4 trucks. It started when the driver of a Freightliner rear-ended another truck, starting a chain reaction with 2 more trucks. The drivers were from Brooklyn, New York, Chicago, and Kansas City. Authorities reported moderate injuries, but everyone is expected to survive. KBI, Larned Police Department, and the Pawnee County Sheriff's Office release an update on murders that happened in Larned, Kansas. The investigation concluded that John Smith arrived at 524 Park Street just after 3 a.m. on Saturday and entered the house alone, carrying a shotgun. That's when he proceeded to kill Shayla and Carver before killing himself. It was ruled a double murder-suicide. Police in Arma, Kansas arrested a woman who they say stabbed a man. Police and EMS responded to the scene where they found the man alive but suffered from multiple stab wounds. The man claimed his girlfriend, Kristen Kramer, stabbed him with a kitchen knife, and Kramer was arrested on scene. Kramer is being charged with attempted murder in the 2nd degree alongside aggravated battery with a deadly weapon. Coronavirus cases and hospitalizations continue to increase across the area as the Omicron variant takes hold. Officials with Mercy Hospital say they've seen an increase in cases and hospitalizations. However, they're noticing not as many people are needing intensive care services or ventilators. Newton County officials say they've seen a significant increase in COVID cases since Christmas and that a bigger increase could be on its way.
So we have seen quite a jump in our positive cases over even last week. So I think in the next few days, in the next couple of weeks, we'll probably see a pretty good surge. I'm guessing, looking at the data. But again, what I'm hearing is it's usually mild cases, and I hope that surge will happen and then subside rather quickly.
We spoke with the Jasper County Health Department Director Tony Moore, who says the latest sewer shed samples taken at the end of December show the Omicron variant is present in Joplin and is beginning to show up in Carthage. City of Joplin is working on contingency plans in the event they have to reduce transit services because of staffing issues. Officials are considering 4 options. The first would reduce maps from 6 routes per day to 3. The second option would reduce it to 4 routes per day and shorten hours. Another would reduce maps to 3 routes and condense the trolley system to 2 routes. And the fourth option would eliminate the trolley service completely and keep maps at 6 routes per day.
It's difficult to find employees to fill all of our open positions. We've got a lot of opportunities here at the City of Joplin, and so one of the things that we do if we're not able to meet the services or have adequate staffing, we have to make contingency plans.
City will host 2 public meetings about the proposed plans on January 27th if they are not staffed by then. It's one of the world's oldest and most natural foods. We're talking about, of course, milk. And what a better day to do so than National Milk Day. Of course, that's today. The day commemorates when, as many people believe, the first milk deliveries in glass bottles started in the U.S. Did you know the United States and Australia export more milk than any other country? That includes delicious milk products like cheese, yogurt, ice cream, and butter. To celebrate National Milk Day, you could treat yourself to a tall glass of milk or maybe a milkshake. Whatever you choose, remember to use the hashtag National Milk Day if you're sharing on social media.
I have a question for you, and I know I'm dating myself when I say this, but I'm going to go ahead and ask you. Did you ever have a time growing up in central western Kansas, did you ever have the milkman deliver?
No.
You guys went to the store?
There was no such thing as a milkman around where we lived.
We still, well, I did not have, my grandparents did. And so when I was at the house, yes, we still had a milkman.
But we had cows on our farm, so
milk.
if we really wanted fresh milk, we could get it ourselves.
That's a very good point. Yeah, I understand. where
Although
you're
that's a
coming
whole different flavor. Straight from the cow.
from. May not be pasteurized, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But hey, you win this one because it was as fresh could be.
For sure.
All right, our daily almanac for this January 11th on National Milk Day would put our average high at 44 degrees. We're going to be way past that, albeit we're not going to be able to challenge the record of 76 degrees that was set back in 1911. A little bit cooler here down to the south where we see 23 in Miami, 25 in Independence. Compare that to the 33s that we have right now in Joplin and in Carthage. The jet stream really beginning to flatten out, and what it's going to do is take that cold Canadian air, sweep it through the Great Lakes off to the mid-Atlantic. But the U-shape that we had that was very defined yesterday, the ridge of the jet stream as we call it, while it does begin to flatten just a little bit, it will begin its easterly push. And remember, as long as you can stay below that, you usually end up with some warmer temperatures, and that's exactly what we'll have for the rest of the week. A Skywatch storm tracker that is absolutely gorgeous. No worry about any cloud cover. We're going to need some rain here by the end of the week because for the next really 72 hours, we're going to be very, very dry. Highs today in the mid-50s. Good south wind, about 15 to 20 miles per hour. And a 7-day forecast there, as we ride these 50s, you'll notice that really this morning is going to be the last morning that we drop below the freezing point. We'll hover about 35 degrees here for overnight lows. Now, Friday is going to be a little bit interesting because that's deceiving right there. You go, oh, we got rain, we're going to drop. Well, here's the thing. Our ground is going to be so warm by that point in time, and also too the atmosphere so warm for the past 4 days being in the 50s that precipitation that comes Friday night into Saturday morning won't have the opportunity to flip over into the vaunted wintry mix. It'll be absolutely fine. It does bring in a cold front though that puts us into the high 30s and 40s for the weekend.
All right, up next, Jasmine Kyle's making a return trip to the studio to talk furry friends and pet adoptions. But first, 'tis the season when people need to stay warm. But after a tragic fire in New York, there's fresh scrutiny on just how safe space heaters are. You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. As an investigation into a deadly fire in New York continues, officials say a space heater sparked the blaze that killed at least 19 people. It's less than a week after another apartment fire took multiple lives in Philadelphia. But many home fires are preventable. Mandy Gaither has key tips for fire safety.
In a span of a week, 2 deadly fires in the Northeast combined more than 30 people killed, dozens hurt.
There are about 1,700 fires year as a result of space heaters.
The fire in the Bronx appears to have been sparked by a space heater. The Consumer Product Safety Commission is working with local authorities in New York to determine if the heater was defective, but safety advocates say they must also be used properly.
They should be kept on a flat surface so they don't tip over and plugged directly into the wall outlet, not into an extension cord.
You should also keep space heaters 3 feet away from anything that can burn. Choose one that has a thermostat and overheat protection with a seal from a qualified testing lab and automatically shuts off. Turn them off and unplug them when you leave the room or go to bed. There are other home fire dangers as well.
Just in the first 9 days alone of 2022, the Red Cross has responded to more than 1,600 home fire emergencies across the nation.
The best way to protect your family: install smoke alarms on every level of your home, test them monthly, and change the batteries at least once a year. Have an emergency plan and practice it.
Making sure you've got 2 ways to exit every room in your home. You want to select a meeting spot for everybody to gather that is a safe distance away from your home.
Well, the American Red Cross says it's also good to make sure your children know what a smoke alarm sounds like so they know what to do if they ever hear it. Well, a study released yesterday suggests using olive oil instead of margarine, butter, or other saturated fats when cooking. It could reduce your risk of death from disease. Researchers studied more than 90,000 people for up to 30 years, then compared their diets to records of disease and death. They found people who reported eating the highest levels of olive oil had a lower risk of dying from heart conditions, cancer, neurodegenerative disease, and other illnesses. In fact, they say replacing just 2 teaspoons of their daily fat with olive oil lowered the overall risk by double digits. Savannah Guthrie has tested positive for COVID-19. The NBC Today Show host tweeted that she was trading places with her co-anchor, Hoda Cope, who had just tested positive just days ago. Guthrie broadcasted home from home on Monday while Coda returned to the studio after 2 negative tests. Guthrie says she has the sniffles. According to the show's website, she is double vaccinated and boosted. U.S. Mint announced Monday that it's rolling out the Maya Angelou Quarter. It makes the legendary poet and activist the first black woman to appear on a U.S. quarter. The Maya Angelou Quarter is the first in the American Women Quarters program, which will include coins featuring prominent women in American history. Other quarters in the series will begin rolling out later this year and through 2025. California Congresswoman Barbara Lee is being credited with the achievement. She introduced the Circulating Collectible Coin Redesign Act of 2020. It passed in 2021, ultimately paving the way for the creation of the new coins.
I'm glad you gave that date because I was thinking, wasn't it about a year ago that you and I did the story talking about the women that were going to be introduced on the quarter?
I think that's cool.
That is tremendous because remember, one of them is Wilma Mankiller, who's going to be on the quarter. And I don't know the release date and I don't know the order of them. But I mean, how cool is it to have, I mean, essentially a 4-stater that is going to join the likes of Sally Ride and Maya Angelou, and I mean, that's amazing.
Pretty cool.
That is great. So are they now in circulation?
Well, these are starting just now.
Hey, I tell you what, the first one of us to end up with one of these getting changed, let's bring it on air. I think that'd be really neat.
Okay.
And that goes for everybody at the station, control room and Carrie, and also too, those of you at home joining us. If
Michael wants to steal your money.
If you grab one of these, take a picture and Facebook Tanya, and she will get back to you ASAP, and we will. I would love to know like when they're out and about, and just so I can keep my eyes open for it. I think it's almost become commonplace that the ones that they did with the states, that we kind of take that for granted anymore. But this is one of those that I will definitely keep my eyes out for if I see it turn up. I bet you a whole lot don't make it into circulation early because people are going to collect them. Don't you think?
Because they're going to collect them?
I think so.
Yeah, probably so.
I bet you that happens. All right, let's take a live look outside of Television City. What a gorgeous Tuesday morning we have. Temperatures ranging anywhere from about 23 to 33. This will be the last morning, though, that we have substantial amounts of the 4 states beneath the freezing point and a 14-degree increase from what we had at this point on Monday morning. Jet stream beginning to move with the ridge. That's the upside down U that we see right here. It's beginning to progress toward the east. That'll bring us a whole bunch of sunshine. No worries about clouds, no worries about precipitation, although by the time we get to the weekend, we're going to need a little rain because it's going to be so dry. Up into the mid-50s today. South wind is going to gust about 20 miles per hour, so it will be a little bit blustery. We'll calm that down to about 10 to 15 miles per hour. We were talking earlier, just about 10 minutes ago, about right here, in between that, when we begin our Friday precipitation, we drop below the freezing point. And so Saturday morning, like anything that does flip over, number one, we're going to avoid the freezing rain. That's a good thing. Any snowflakes that do evolve in all this, you have to remember, our ground so warm for the last several days that nothing is going to stick, and we'll have no travel concerns over the weekend. We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Jasmine Kyle, I kid you not. It is Jasmine. It's a Great Dane Greyhound mix. Yes, a Great Dane Greyhound mix that is going to break your heart, and him and his brother are going to be adopted ASAP right after this.
Welcome back. We've got quite the character here in front of us today. Jasmine Kyle, of course, is joining us from the SEK Humane Society, along with Mason.
Yes, so as you can see, Mason is a big, big boy. So we do not get this breed very often. So Mason is a Great Dane greyhound mix.
Wow.
So they are like little tiny ponies, but these boys, he has a brother too by the name of Dixon. They're about 3 years old now. We got them in when they were puppies at the very beginning. They were adopted out. A year and a half down the road, family had to move out of state. We took the boys back in, and then just a few weeks later, they were adopted out together again. So another year and a half passes, and unfortunately, the past family had a dire medical emergency that we understood, and we just took the boys back in. So we are getting ready for an adoption event at Pittsburgh this weekend from 11 to noon, and we are bringing the brothers down. So we are hoping third time's a charm and we can get them adopted together, because again, they've been together since birth, so we would love that if they could stay together.
They might get adopted before then.
That would make us so happy, because we are at full capacity right now. We've got lobbies and hallways full of dogs right now.
There's a picture of his brother. Yeah.
Exactly, and he's gorgeous too. They have these beautiful spots on them. But right now, a good majority of our dogs are sponsored, meaning they have no adoption fee. And all of our cats and dogs that are adoptable, they are spayed and neutered already, microchipped, up to date on vaccinations. You do not need to do anything to these animals. They are ready to head out the door, and you're saving 2 lives. One for your new Forever Buddy that you're bringing home, and the other for that empty space they leave behind. That means that we can save another life and fill it and give them the medical care and love that they need from our staff to find them their next home.
All right. And how old would you say that Mason and Dixon are?
Yeah, they are just a little over 3 years of age.
Years?
Yep,
Okay.
so they're still fairly young, and they do great with kids. We have had them at USD 250 functions, at the Family Center, doing educational tours. Great with kids, do well with other dogs, but again, we would love if the brothers could go home together. And we've got lots of dogs right now at the Humane Society. We have another dog by the name of Jack. He is our longest resident at our shelter.
What kind of dog is Jack?
He is a lab boxer mix. He's brown, has these cute little white socks on his feet. He had a really hard backstory. So right next to us is the Mayan Wildlife Grounds, and there's a restroom. And that restroom is usually closed during the winter time. Unfortunately, Jack's previous owner thought the best thing to do was to barricade him inside that restroom.
Oh.
And nobody goes out there because it's wintertime. I would again, when we walked through that front door, he is the most emaciated dog I'd ever seen. We had to pick him up because he was just bones. I mean, bones. The vets didn't think he would make it. We did 6 to 8 months of medical care and finally found out he had a grain allergy after blood work. So he was this adolescent young puppy, just a little over a year of age, who couldn't walk at all because he had lost all of his muscle mass. So a year passes and now Jack's full healthy, and he smiles constantly. Whether it's strangers, with our staff, he will do this quirky little quirk and just grin, like with the happiest, goofiest smile. But since Jack was sick when he was a puppy for so long, and then due to that horrible incident, he has a lot of energy. He plays like it's his last day. And we think that he will always remember that, and he knows how good he has it at this current condition. So he is a player. He needs an active family household, but Good Boy Professional Dog Training has donated a discounted dog training package for him. And Jack comes with grain-free food as well, and he's sponsored. He has no adoption fee too. He's our longest resident, and we would love in 2020 for the new year if he could finally find his home.
I think you guys need to bring him to that adoption event.
I know. We would love to. We would absolutely love to. We also have smaller dogs, and we don't usually have smaller dogs. For the most part, 80 to 90% of our dog intakes are of larger sizes, boxers, labs, that type of stuff.
Hey, we were talking about how it's really easy to sign up to be a volunteer and for volunteer opportunities.
Yes. So on our website, which is thesekhumanesociety.com, you can actually submit a full volunteer form, whether that's you want to bake things for our bake sales or come do adoption events. There is a ton to choose from that program. And what we do, instead of having to do last minute calls, like we've got our adoption event this Saturday. So yesterday, I sent out emails to our volunteers letting them know, hey, here's the time slots, here's the opportunities. So everybody has a lot more time for their busy schedules, because everybody's busy these days, and you can get the family involved too. And we are open on the weekend still, Saturday from noon to 4 and Sunday from 1 to 4 for the public, so you can always come out during that time and walk dogs and hang out with our cats and see what else that we have out there to do.
Can you just show up and volunteer, or is there a process you have to go through?
As long as it's during open hours, you can volunteer, or if you're on our volunteer list, we during the open hours in the morning, because our staff's there right at 8 o'clock cleaning, if we need extra help, we'll do calls and we'll do emails emails and be like, hey, so-and-so, would you have extra time on your lunch break to come help us out? Or hey, Dawn, maybe you have this time this weekend to come help us out with some yard work, that type of stuff.
All right, sounds like lots of opportunities there.
Yeah.
All right, so you have an opportunity to adopt Mason and his brother Dixon as well as all the other dogs there at the shelter.
Yes.
Thank you so much for coming in again, Jasmine.
Thank you.
All right, we better go to break, but let's see if we can get one last look at this guy as we go to break.
He's so sweet. He has these hazelnut cream eyes. He's gorgeous, and they're so sweet and docile. I cannot tell you enough for how big these guys are. Like when they get uncomfortable, like if a semi passes or anything like that, they'll lean up against you, be like, Mom, Dad, Meemaw, what's going on? They are so sweet and gentle. So there's really no household restrictions, but again, we'd love for the brothers to go together.
All right, thank you again, Jasmine. We'll be right back.
We take this time to honor this morning's four-state hero. Sergeant Fred Storm served in the United States Army during World War II. Stationed in the Aleutian Islands with the 203rd National Guard Unit, we salute you, Sergeant Fred Storm, this morning's four-state hero. The pilot of a small airplane, lucky to survive a crash on a street in Los Angeles. Even luckier when he was yanked out of the aircraft just seconds before a train hit the plane. You see, he had to land on railroad tracks. We have details and the dramatic camera footage.
Go, 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 go! It was a tense moment as officers with the LAPD rescued a pilot from a downed plane just seconds before it was destroyed by an oncoming train.
It was definitely the most intense extrication of the pilot from the aircraft I've seen.
The morning after, pilots at Whiteman Airport nearby are praising the efforts of officers and that of the pilot himself for making the last-minute decision to land the Cessna on the tracks.
Especially in this area with how dense the population is around this area and with the amount of time it seems like the pilot had to make these decisions.
The FAA says the plane took off from Whiteman just after 2 in the afternoon on Sunday. Within seconds, there was a reported failure.
An engine failure is what it seemed like he experienced, or significant loss of power.
On board was the owner of the plane, a former Air Force pilot with more than 50 years in the air, Mark Jenkins from Valencia. His family didn't want to speak on camera, but say he made the decision to land on the tracks for fear of hitting nearby homes or cars in a very populated area. It's something pilots say is always a concern at this airport.
You are very limited in where you can go.
And although the LAPD says it called to stop the trains, the message didn't make it in time. So officers standing by took action.
At some point, we realized the train wasn't going to stop. But once we realized that train was coming at full speed down the tracks, we knew we had no choice. We had to find a way to get him out of there, or else he was going to die.
Thankfully, they did. And Jenkins survived, as did the officers who risked their lives to save him.
It was a scary moment, but everything worked out well.
Family members tell me that Jenkins is having surgery here at Providence Holy Cross Medical Center after suffering some fractures to his face. But he is going to be okay.
I think it's as good of an outcome as you can hope for.
A hero in the air and a few on the ground who made sure everyone survived.
I'm not going to lie to you, when that story started right there at the beginning of that video, that's about as shocking as you're going to see, and thank goodness everybody's okay. We got another half hour of news and weather coming up on the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14, including new legal proceedings, exploring what happens in a divorce and who gets to keep the pets. And for the first time in decades, the Golden Globes were not televised, but there was a bigger controversy behind the scenes. You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. We're back right after this.
This is Chad. Chad works for Bagcraft. Chad just bought a...
The four states' most watched news starts now.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. It's currently 7:33. Let's take a look at today's top stories. Last night there was a crash that happened on I-44 and the Missouri Highway Patrol has released more details on it. According to the Missouri Highway Patrol, the crash involved 4 trucks. It started when the driver of a Freightliner rear-ended another truck, starting a chain reaction with 2 more trucks. The drivers were from Brooklyn, New York, Chicago, and Kansas City. Authorities reported moderate injuries, but everyone is expected to survive. A remarkable reunion in Afghanistan as a baby lost during the chaotic airport evacuations 5 months ago is reunited with relatives. CBS's Tina Kraus has the story from London.
Sohail Ahmadi was just 2 months old when the Taliban returned to power in Afghanistan, and thousands scrambled to escape, triggering chaos at Kabul's airport last August. In a desperate move to keep Sohail safe, his father handed him to a U.S. soldier, thinking he would find him again when he got past the wall. But the Taliban pushed crowds back, and by the time the family made it through, Sohail was missing. The infant ended up in the arms of Hamed Safi. The taxi driver says he found Sohail on the ground at the airport crying. After trying in vain to find his parents, he says he took the boy home to raise with his 3 daughters. Sohail's parents searched for their son for 3 days before boarding a flight to the U.S. with their 4 other children. The family was devastated and posted desperate pleas to find Sohail on social media. Now, nearly 5 months later, the baby's grandfather was located still living in Afghanistan. It's a historical day for us, he says. I'm so grateful my grandson has been returned. But it's a bittersweet reunion for the father who had to give him back. The boy's parents, who've now settled in Michigan, hope Sohail will be brought home to them soon. Tina Kraus, CBS News.
The baby's grandfather told the man who had been caring for his grandson that God would bless him with another baby boy in return for the kindness they showed. The fossilized remains of an Ichthyosaur have been found in England's Midlands, the largest and most complete of its kind discovered in the UK. Ichthyosaurs were large marine reptiles similar in shape to dolphins, but grew up to lengths of 82 feet. The 32-foot-long fossil was discovered in February of 2021 in Rutland water and is thought to be 180 million years old. Conservationist at Leicester and Rutland Wildlife Trust, Joe Davis, found the Ichthyosaur during a routine draining of a lagoon island for re-landscaping. Known as sea dragons due to having large eyes and teeth, ichthyosaurs went extinct around 90 million years ago.
Tanya, I'm reading this story that when he found this, so 33 feet long, okay? The skull weighed a ton.
Whoa. Just the skull.
I can't wrap my head around it.
There it is. Oh.
Like, I really can't. I've seen the video. Like, I can't fathom like how large this animal.
Can you
must have
imagine
been.
an 82-foot one, like an 80-foot-long one?
No, I can't imagine a 33-foot one that they found.
Like
fossilized.
almost 3 times that size. Wow. That's crazy.
Crazy. I guess it's somewhat related to our modern-day dolphins, if I remember my story correctly. Anyway, science and nature people, I apologize because I'm probably way off on that.
No,
One thing I'm not way off on is that we are shortly past sunrise over Television City, an absolute gorgeous morning. Temperatures right now, it is a little bit chilly, 33 over 7th and Rangeline in Joplin, anywhere from about, say 25 to 33 degrees is where we stand. But let the sunshine now take effect, work up into the mid-50s, not only for today, all the way through Friday. Get a little rain Friday evening into Saturday, cooler temps over the weekend. Enjoy the fresh air and sunshine for the next 72 hours. Back with more KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this.
Texas.
This morning on the KOAM News Now Facebook page in our morning Insta poll discussing a brush with fame. And like many schools across the country, start of the second semester, a little bit of a struggle at Merrimack Elementary. It's in Clayton, Missouri. Had kids out, you had staffing issues. So what do? You call in that dude right there to teach your PE class. That dude that you saw right there, that's Harrison Bader, the Gold Glove outfielder for the St. Louis Cardinals. Needless to say, the kids had a good time as long as they're in gym class. Our question for you this morning, though, who's the coolest person that you've ever met? Gave you kind of an idea of different genres, but 60% of you go the other route. Coming in second place, we've got 14% with both athlete and 14% with musician. Appreciate everybody's engagement each and every morning. Now, sometimes relationships can be a little rough, if you will. Things don't always work out, but things can get especially rocky when couples file for divorce and there are pets involved. Sal Giangrasso with more on the new legal proceedings. Were the welfare of pets considered when former lovers fight? And who gets upset over the growing number of people choosing to have pets instead of kids?
For pet owners, your animal is part of the family. But what happens when that family gets divorced? Well, a growing number of countries are now considering the welfare of pets when their owners break up.
We don't have kids, and so our pets are so important.
In the U.S., a pet is typically considered property, with one spouse usually awarded custody of the animal during a divorce settlement. But over in Spain, a new law is requiring judges to view pets as something more than objects, making them take a closer look at a pet's best interests when deciding who maintains ownership.
The most important thing is the modification of the law so that they are no longer considered things, but beings with feelings.
Before the new law, officials say the person who registered the pet usually had a better chance of winning custody. But now, proponents believe when more thought is given to the animal's welfare, the pet will wind up in the best home, whether that's being shared or given to just one owner.
This will help decrease the abandonment and mistreatment of animals.
Meanwhile, it turns out the Pope is not happy with people choosing to become pet parents, recently criticizing couples who prioritize getting animals instead of having or adopting children.
Many couples don't have children because they either don't want them or they have only one because they don't want any more. But they have 2 dogs, 2 cats. This denial of fatherhood and motherhood makes us smaller, takes away our humanity.
In the same speech, the Pope says the world is experiencing a demographic winter and called for more people to consider raising children. Sal Giangrasso, Fox News.
France and Portugal, among other countries, where judges must also consider the welfare of pets during divorce proceedings. Be back with more KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this.
If your New Year's resolution is to get your finances in top shape, one financial expert shares 5 money moves you should make right now to set yourself up for success. Gene Sullivan has a closer look in today's Consumer Watch.
New year, new you. While many made New Year's resolutions to improve their health and wellness, financial experts say getting your finances in top shape should also be a priority this 2022.
It's so important to focus on financial well-being, especially at the beginning of the year, because really you want to set yourself up for success.
Personal finance coach Julie Alma Taveras recommends these 5 money moves. First, she says look back at last year and make a budget for this year. Decide how much you'll spend and save and figure out what needs to get cut.
You want to pull out the things that maybe were just one-time things, and also maybe some things that were recurring, like maybe ordering out too much or shopping a little bit too much that you could definitely cut back on.
The second move is to start investing. Figure out what you'll set aside for your retirement and how much you can invest in other assets like real estate. The third move, jumpstart your career. Taveras says this may be the perfect time to seek new opportunities like a new job that pays better.
A lot of times when you move to a different company, you can oftentimes get up to 30% raise. And this past year, I've seen people get even 50% raise, which seems kind of crazy, but it is possible. And it's kind of the environment that we're in right now.
Next, check your credit report. Look for potential errors and get them removed. Taveras also recommends requesting an interest rate decrease on your credit cards. And finally, eliminate debt. Create a debt payment plan so it doesn't feel so overwhelming. For today's Consumer Watch, I'm Jen Sullivan.
Financial experts also recommend you consider getting life insurance this year and learn about cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin and the technology that powers it all, blockchain. There you go. Well, make it your Valentine's Day that much sweeter with M&M's Black Forest Cake flavor. The chocolate candy has done it again, this time with a new twist you'll fall in love with. Limited edition Black Forest Cake candy features the iconic flavors of the slice of dessert, including milk chocolate, Black Forest Cake, and dark chocolate, all enclosed in the crunchy red, pink, or white shell. Yummy. Lovers can pick up a bag for themselves or to share from a wide variety of stores like Walmart, Target, and Walgreens. I might have to try those out. That sounds tasty. We'll be right back with more after this, but first let's take a look at the market prices before the opening bell.
after you've been injured.
While not televised nationally, Golden Globe's certainly a talker. Major winners including West Side Story, Succession, and the Netflix original drama Power of the Dog. The big story, though, about how the awards were handed out. So, for the first time in decades, the ceremony not on television. Instead, the whole thing unfolded behind closed doors without big stars. It's fallout from an ongoing scandal involving the group that votes on the awards. Jonathan Vigliotti with that story.
Welcome to the 2021 Golden Globe Awards.
The Golden Globes is usually a star-studded and ruckus event with celebrities drinking, schmoozing, and even taking some late-night swims. In previous years, the broadcast pulled in as many as 20 million viewers, even if those numbers have lately been in decline. This year was different.
It's a big, big draw because it's the first award show of the season. So everybody loves to tune in. It's film and television stars. You get a lot of bang for your celebrity buck there.
Entertainment journalist Matt Bellani of Puck News says this year's muted version falls as the Hollywood Foreign Press comes to terms with a troubling lack of diversity in its ranks.
It was revealed last year that the organization that gives the awards, the Hollywood Foreign Press Association, had 0 black members. That sparked an uproar.
While last year's event acknowledged the issue,
the Hollywood Foreign Press Association is made up of around 90 international no black journalists.
the revelations created a backlash that saw A-listers like Tom Cruise and Scarlett Johansson call out the HFPA and were enough for host network NBC to cancel this year's televised broadcast. The Hollywood Foreign Press has responded to the criticisms, including partnering with NAACP and hiring 21 new members, 6 of whom are black.
We've done a lot of work over the past 9 months. This is a journey that we're on, and we're continuing to be on that journey.
The HFPA has also brought in speaker and entrepreneur Neil Phillips as Chief Diversity Officer.
Taking ownership of missteps, transgressions, oversights, and taking a very, very comprehensive approach to trying to be better. To me, this is exactly what you want organizations to do in the face of this kind of scrutiny.
Bellani says until that happens, the Globes will struggle for relevance.
The impact of these awards is clearly tied to the fact that it was a gala awards show with stars on NBC. And without that, there's not a lot to care about with the Golden Globes.
The big winners of the night were Netflix's Power of the Dog and 20th Century Fox's West Side Story. But whether they'll be shouting their wins from the rooftops is another story. I'm Jonathan Vigliotti in Los Angeles.
All that being said, if you are looking for something to watch at night, if you have not checked out Power of the Dog, it is good. But I tell you what, you're not going to want to do it during the afternoon or evening hours because it's going to be an absolutely delightful middle of January here. 33 degrees is where we stand right now over 7th and Rangeline. Anywhere from about 25 to 33 is where we stand. Now, we do have a little bit of a wind chill in effect as it comes in from the south. Eventually, it'll warm us up, but still feeling like the low 20s when you walk outside. Jet stream beginning to flatten out. That'll take the cold air, shift it through the Great Lakes up to the northeast. We're going to be in store for above average temperatures with a whole bunch of blue sky, sunshine, and also very low humidity. That humidity dropping down around 30%. Might want to bust out the humidifiers here, not only for today, but honestly all the way through the weekend until we get a little precipitation. That's not going to happen until Friday. Get to roll mid-50s all the way for the rest of the work/school week. Then we get ready for Friday night rain that'll carry us into Saturday morning. Cold front behind it. That'll mean high 30s, low 40s over the weekend. We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Here's what's happening today. The U.S. has surpassed its record for most people hospitalized with COVID-19 at one time. Doctors and nurses treated over 142,000 patients on Sunday, slightly more than they did this time last year. Investigators say a malfunctioning door may have led to at least 17 deaths in a New York City high-rise fire. The door was equipped with a self-closing mechanism that apparently failed, allowing heavy smoke to escape the third-floor apartment where the flames began. 8 children were among those who died. And talks between the U.S. and Russia have ended without an agreement on Ukraine. Russian forces have been massing along the nation's border in recent weeks, sparking fears of a possible invasion. Kremlin says it has no intention of attacking, but wants an end to NATO's expansion in Eastern Europe. Let's check in with Michael with a final look at your forecast.
Going to be a delightful week ahead. Temperatures in the mid-50s, a whole lot of sunshine. Going to be a little bit breezy today. We'll get some 25-mile-per-hour gusts out of the south, but delightful in the fact that we are done with our freezing temperatures until we get to the weekend.
Well, devotees of the Hindu god Ayyappa walked barefoot on a bed of burning embers in India's southern Shivamogga city as they performed a fire ritual to appease the deity on Sunday. Wow. Devotees chanted prayers, dipped their hands in hot oil, and walked on fire as people gathered to see them on the occasion. Fire walking is an ancient ritual which originated in India and is often still practiced to show people's devotion and faith in a deity.
Definition of mind over matter.
For sure.
Don't try that at home, kids.
Are you speaking from experience? No.
We are not condoning attempting that.
Don't walk on Legos either.
That's unavoidable.
I know. Especially if you have 3
How is that still upright? I'm with you. There's actually a great radio commercial right now. Honey, can you turn off the downstairs light? No, don't make me go down there. Thanks for letting us put the good in your morning. We'll be back with more news and weather when we see you at noon.
Have a great morning and an even better day.